I'm making a card game, and in this video I'm going to explain how to play it. Unless you came from my own channels, this video is probably not for you. However, if hearing someone ramble about the rules of a game in development that you know nothing about sounds interesting to you, then please have a seat. Okay, I know that most likely you're already seated, but let's just roll with it. First of all, if you own Tabletop Simulator, you can play the Bounties TCG for free right now. I call it an alpha prototype, so while there is already a fair bit of art, you also have some cards that only have sketches. There are, as of writing, 3 regions to choose from, but you can mix and match however you like with this rudimentary deck building area I put together. If you do play the game, I would love your feedback. More about that at the end of the video. Alright, let's dive in. I like to imagine this game as a tavern brawl that escalates really quickly. You and your opponent are world shifters, and you've recruited a band of bounty hunters to do your fighting for you. In the Bounties universe, everyone has a bounty, and by defeating enemy fighters, you get to collect it. Once a player has collected 10 bounty coins, they win the game, and you can also win by attacking the opponent directly. But we'll explain that a little bit later. Before I say anything else, keep in mind that whatever text is on the card takes priority over other rules. Whatever the card says is what that card does, regardless of what other rules exist. These are pre-made decks you can use, and this is an area to place 30 cards to create a custom deck following the rules stated here. On your left, you have a bag of coins. This is the vault. Whenever you defeat an enemy, you collect their bounty from here. At the very bottom, we have the blood pool. There are 5 cards here that, when face up, can be used to pay for the cost of cards. On the right, we have our graveyard, deck, and discard pile. Dead fighters go to the graveyard, everything else that leaves play go to the discard pile. The deck is, well, where your deck is. In the middle, we have the main play area. It is divided into 3 locations. Both players can place a fighter at each location, and each fighter can hold 1 piece of equipment. Between yours and your enemy fighters is a slot for a stage card. With that out of the way, I'll set up a mock battle and I'll point out things as I demonstrate the match. First, begin by bribing, coercing, or otherwise convincing someone into trying a random dude on the internet's card game prototype. Once successfully recruited, you both choose a deck of cards you'll be playing with. Make sure that both players have 3 bounty coins before you begin, and whoever goes second gets to collect 1 flipped bounty coin. This is a faded blood, a temporary resource you can use to pay for costs. While they're flipped like this, they also don't count as coins and can't be used towards your victory. At the start of the game, both players draw 7 cards. Return 2 you don't want to your deck and shuffle. The player you've decided to go first will then go through the 4 phases of their turn. During turn start, you first generate 1 blood, then any turn start effects resolve, and finally draw a card. If you have already generated all your blood, you can skip that step. A scramble is your main phase for playing cards. I only have 1 blood available, so I'm going to play Gerla to one of the unoccupied locations. To do that, I pay her a cost of 1 blood. Now would typically be when I start a brawl and attack my opponent, but doing that costs 1 blood. So instead, turn end plays out and I regenerate my blood. It is player 2's turn and they generate 1 blood and draw a card. With their extra blood, they decide to play Rootwort for 1 and a stage card for 1. To make things easier, we can use the dice to show the power total of Rootwort, and since player 2 can't do anything else, their turn ends and regenerates their blood. Right now, I'm in a bit of trouble. Gerla only has 1 power and 3 health. If Rootwort was to attack her next turn, she would die since his power is 3 times her power. I could play a stage to replace theirs. But replacing a stage actually costs 1 more than playing it to an empty location, which means I wouldn't be able to brawl this turn. So instead I'm going to play Nugget. It's a baby and has a special power that increases his ally's power by its own. It can't attack, but it does mean Gerla's power is now 2, keeping her safe next turn. I have 1 blood left, so I will start a brawl. However, Gerla can't damage Rootwort in her current state because her power needs to be at least the same as his to do so. Lucky for me, I have a broken bottle, which costs nothing, and because it has quick, I can play it during a brawl. Instead of equipping it to Gerla, however, I'm going to give it to the baby because, well, as the card states, his power is given to his allies, so when he's given the bottle, Gerla also gets the buff. Okay, Gurla now has 3 power, she attacks root ward and deals 1 damage. We track health in this game by rotating the card clockwise, and how many hits they've taken can be seen on these little diamonds on the sides. I'm actually working on a redesign for these, since people have a bit of a problem remembering which side is how much damage, but this is what it looks like right now. You could also use some sort of health tracker if you prefer, just spawn in a few objects and use that. The diamonds are there to make the game a bit less reliant on tokens. We're already using coins anyway, and I don't want to push it too far. The damage has been done, my turn is over, and I regenerate my blood, and player 2 does his thing. He plays a Trunks to the table for 1 blood and pays another to brawl. How is he gonna do this? Combined they have 5 power. That's more than twice the amount of the power the baby has, and would therefore get rid of it because it only has 2 health. But no, instead Trunks attacks the baby alone, dealing 1 damage, but it also gets rid of the baby's broken bottle since it is discarded whenever they attack or defend. This also reduces Gurla's power by 1, and would you look at that, they also had a broken bottle, increasing Rootward's power by 1, which deals 2 damage to Gurla, since his power is twice that of hers. With only 1 health left, Gurla might be in a bit of a rough spot, however, leaving the baby on the table might have been a bad decision on their part. I generate 1 blood, draw a card and play Mama Teak's Cure-All, which does 1 damage to anything that's not a goblin or a goblin friend like Burn that I just drew. I target Rootward to go for the kill, but it looks like my imaginary opponent has another Trunks on his hand. Trunks has this special ability that lets him be played from the hand if any tree folk would die, replacing them and avoiding the damage as long as you pay the cost. But with the buff from the baby and 1 blood to spare, I have enough to brawl and take out Trunks. And because of Gurla's frenzy ability that triggers on dealing a killing blow, she deals 1 damage to the new Trunks on the board as well. Whenever a fighter dies, a few things happen at once. First of all, however much bounty the fighter had when you defeated them, you get to collect from the vault. The player who lost the fighter then flips their bounty coins equal to the same bounty, turning them into faded blood. You're further away from victory, but you now have more resources to make your comeback. Lastly, you get to level up the fighter who dealt the killing blow. To level up a fighter, you take 1 of your cards from your blood pool and attach them to your fighter. When playing physically, you'd just slide the card under, but since that's a bit tricky in Tabletop Simulator, you just place it next to the fighter with a dice on top to indicate the level. If multiple fighters attack together, you get to choose who dealt the killing blow, and that's the end of that. Whenever a fighter levels up, both their bounty and power increases by 1, and you can no longer use this as a resource to play cards. It's a steep cost, but since it's a power increase and essentially a multiplier to how resilient you are, it is very often worth it. How the tables have turned. My opponent also spent an extra blood to save their root ward in defense, and since blood only regenerates at the end of your turn, they are 1 short. Since there is no automatic consequence to attacking an enemy fighter, you'll play quick cards or defensive reactions to deal with incoming attacks. For that to be a viable option, I decided that the player should have all their blood available to them during defense, at the cost of less blood during your own turn. This should be more or less all you need to know to get started. It's a fair bit of information, but the best way to learn is to play it yourself. There's a quick guide available in Tabletop Simulator that you can reference for the most common rules. Oh, and I suppose I promised to explain. Normally, you win by getting 10 bounty coins. However, if your opponent has no fighters on the board and you attack them directly. Each bounty coin acts as a shield, so when you do attack, you flip them and turn them into faded blood. If they have no bounty coins and you attack them, they are defenseless and die. If your deck runs out of cards, shuffle your discard pile and use that as your new deck. I'm not a fan of milling death. As mentioned in the intro, you can play the game on Tabletop Simulator. If you do, I would love your feedback. I want to make this game as good as possible, and while I've tested this game a bunch, it's never been out in the wild without me overseeing it. You can leave a comment here on the video, or better yet, you can join my currently very empty Discord server. Hello? If you're here at the end, thank you for wanting to listen to me ramble about this thing I've been trying to put together. I hope you do play it and have a good time, because ultimately that's what I'm trying to create. A good and fun game. If you do want to show your support, you can like, subscribe and all that. I also have a Patreon where I post my comic, sketches and other fun bits. Make sure that both players have 3 bone... Make sure that both players have 3 bone... Why can I not talk? Make sure... Make sure that both players have 3 bounty. Oh, fuck. Make sure...